On July 13th, Donald Trump gave an interview on an American radio station and sent a direct message to Iran. These were his words: "Tell the Iranians to be ready."
Okay, and we will do that. We're going to take out Pickaxe Mountain. Tell the Iranians to be ready. Let's go, okay? There's not a damn thing they can do about it. All right, thank you. Thank you. Bye.
But ready for what? Well, the United States is already bombing Iran every night. Among the targets are bases, ports, and ships. So, one more threat shouldn't scare anyone. But this one was different because the target that Trump announced is not a military base, it's not a port, it's a mountain. A real mountain made of stone in the middle of Iran. And when analysts looked at satellite photos of this mountain, they realized that Iran was doing something in secret. And it was exactly what it had promised not to do. The photos show cement mixers, construction trucks, and machines working for months around 2 tunnel entrances on the mountainside, pouring concrete over the doors, pushing dirt and rocks on top of them. At one of the entrances, the Iranian engineers even built a reinforced concrete structure made just to withstand even more weight on top. It became clear that Iran was reinforcing and burying its own doors, and here's where they got caught. In June, Iran signed an agreement with the United States, a memorandum with clear rules. And one of them said, no work at nuclear facilities while negotiations last. That's right. As you can see, the work on the mountain continued. The American institute that monitors nuclear programs by satellite documented everything, photo by photo, each one dated. The truth is that Iran signed with one hand and poured concrete with the other. But to understand why this mountain became the center of the war, you first need to see the beating Iran is taking everywhere else. Let's rewind 3 weeks. Iran attacked commercial ships in the Strait of Hormuz. They tore up the peace agreement they had just signed. We told this whole story in the last video. If you haven't seen it yet, I recommend you watch it after this one. The pieces will fall into place. And the American response was the biggest bombing campaign of this war. Night after night, explosions from one end of the Iranian coast to the other. The scale of the damage has a name and a number. Look at this scene. This man in uniform with 4 stars standing in front of a giant map of Iran is Brad Cooper, the admiral in charge of U.S. Central Command, the headquarters that commands all United States forces in the Middle East. Since the beginning of the war, he is the one who appears in front of the cameras to give an overview of the campaign. And the numbers are impressive. Even in the first phase of the war, there were already more than 5,500 targets hit inside Iran. More than 60 Iranian ships destroyed. Waves of attacks almost every hour coming from different directions. He was the one who announced that the last warship of the Soleimani class, the pride of the Iranian Navy, had gone to the bottom of the sea. An entire class of warships wiped out. And when he went before Congress in May, he summed it all up in one sentence. In 38 days of the campaign, the United States wiped out 40 years of Iran's military investment. And the cost? It just keeps growing. Look at this footage filmed by an American drone. That mark in the middle of the screen is its crosshair. And what's in its sights is an Iranian drone. The Common 99 apparently being transported in the city of Chabahar seconds before being destroyed. Meanwhile, the American fighter jets didn't stop to catch their breath, and this campaign had a real effect. According to the admiral, from the first 24 hours of the operation onward, Iran's missile attacks plummeted. If you're now realizing the scale of what's happening, take the opportunity to subscribe to the channel. Now notice something strange. The United States destroyed ships, ports, radars, and bases. And the American president, when talking about targets, only mentions a mountain. But why? What does a mountain of stone have that's worth more than an entire fleet? Let me show you. Her name in Persian is long, Ku'e Kolangazla, but the translation is simple, Pickaxe Mountain. It's located in the center of Iran, a kilometer and a half from Natanz, the country's most famous nuclear facility. And the story of this mountain begins with a humiliation. Watch. This mountain was born from an explosion. In 2020, an act of sabotage attributed to Israel destroyed the factory where Iran assembled its most advanced centrifuges, the machines that prepare uranium, the fuel for the nuclear program, and the regime swore in parliament that no one would reach the next factory. It would be built, in the words of the head of the nuclear program, in the heart of the mountain. 6 years later, this is the result. Galleries excavated beneath up to 600 meters of granite. One of the hardest rocks there is to drill through. Just to give you an idea, the mountain at Fordow that the Americans drilled into is just a hill compared to this one. And Iran surrounded everything with walls, fences, and electronic surveillance, not to stop an army from entering, but to keep the world from seeing. Iran swears that it's just a centrifuge assembly plant. But international inspectors, the United Nations agency that oversees nuclear programs around the world, have never set foot inside. Not even once. And analysts who study the site believe that the space under the mountain is far too large for that. Large enough, according to them, to hide an entire uranium enrichment plant. And even the final stages of building an atomic bomb. In the same radio interview, the host asked Trump a direct question. Are you going to require inspectors to go into that mountain before any agreement to make sure there's not a doomsday machine hidden there? And Trump answered with one word. Absolutely.
Before you enter into another deal, will you insist that IAEA inspectors get down into that deep tunnel and find out if they got a doomsday machine down there?
Absolutely. They lack it because we have it.
Now you must be thinking, 600 meters of stone. How does anyone attack that? Well, it turns out that the United States has already answered that question once on another Iranian mountain. Come back with me to June of 2025, the previous war. The target was Fordow, Iran's most famous nuclear fortress, buried inside a mountain. Look at these images. Here you can clearly see what's inside the mountain, an entire city carved into the rock with corridors, machine rooms, and even offices. For years, the whole world repeated the same phrase. Fordow is impenetrable. In a single night, 7 stealth bombers took off from the United States, each carrying a weapon that only they can carry. The GBU-57, a 14-ton bomb, the weight of a truck, designed to do just one thing. To pierce through earth and rock before exploding. 12 of these bombs fell on Fordow. But they didn't land scattered around. And that's the detail that almost nobody understood at the time. The Americans aimed at the ventilation ducts, the giant pipes that bring air into the fortress. And they dropped 6 bombs into the same 2 holes, one after the other, each bomb digging deeper along the path the previous one opened, like nails hammered into the same spot until they go through. The impenetrable fortress was penetrated. But when the dust settled, the surprise came. According to American and Israeli analysts, the vault was empty. The 440 kilos of enriched uranium from Iran, the treasure of the nuclear program, had been removed days before the attack, loaded onto trucks to a destination that no one has confirmed to this day. And that's why the hunt never ended, because the uranium still exists. Somewhere. And look how crazy this is. The United Nations Inspectors Agency lost track of it, and the suspicions point to Pickaxe Mountain, which we showed you before. And the same analysts who caught the cement mixers documented something else. Right after that war in 2025, a smaller tunnel inside the mountain complex was completely sealed off. Sealed with dirt and concrete. The contents? Completely unknown. Iran has bet everything on this mountain, and on paper, the math behind that bet looks good for them. The 14-ton bomb officially penetrates about 60 meters. The mountain has up to 600 meters of granite above the deepest tunnels. 10 times more. On paper, it's untouchable. The Iranian regime even makes a point of saying that out loud. An advisor to the Iranian parliament stated that it is the most fortified nuclear facility in the world and said that it is impossible to hit. But there's a problem with all that confidence, because it was exactly the same confidence they had in Fordo, and this time the Americans don't even need to go through the rock. One day after Trump's threat, the American institute that monitors the mountain published an analysis that was, in practice, a manual for how to attack the place. And the manual doesn't mention drilling through 600 meters of granite. It mentions 3 weak points: the power lines that supply the mountain and the ventilation ducts. The same air ducts that doomed Fordo. And the doors, because no fortress can exist without a door. Then, the satellite caught something that absolutely shouldn't have been like that. The most recent photos from July 9th show that the pair of entrances on the west side of the mountain are still open. Yes, open. According to the analysis, it is vulnerable to precision weapons and even to a ground operation with troops entering on foot through the tunnels. Remember the cement mixers from the start of the video? The concrete they poured over the doors in a hurry, violating the agreement? That's right, Iran is rushing to close its own doors before the Americans come through them. Look at the American approach now after Fordo. Today's bombs have smart fuses, they're sensors that detect when the bomb passes through a gap and enters a new floor. The bomb counts the floors until it explodes at the exact spot. A successor to the 14-ton bomb has already been ordered. And this manual has already been used twice, in Fordo. And in March of this year, against another Iranian nuclear tunnel where the ventilation ducts were hit again. Trump himself summed up the plan with his usual mockery. He said that the mountain is a perfect target for, in his words, a big beautiful shot right at the front door. But make no mistake, Iran knows this. Their reaction gives it away. Weeks ago, Iran attempted the boldest move of the war. They fired 111 missiles at the Abraham Lincoln, an American aircraft carrier. And it was Trump himself who revealed the outcome at an event in Pennsylvania.
111 missiles shot a few weeks ago by our lovely friends from Iran. They were aimed at the Abraham Lincoln, which is a beautiful aircraft carrier, by the way. The SS. Abraham Lincoln, 111 in a short period of time. Out of the 111 missiles shot, 111 missiles were knocked into the sea easily. Think of that.
There was that figure of 111 missiles. 111 were shot down into the sea. None got close. And in the coastal cities, look at those bursts rising into the clear sky. Those are Iran's air defenses, firing at targets they can't even see. The regime also fired missiles at American bases in 5 neighboring countries at the same time. And none of that changed the course of the war. Notice the pattern. Whoever is winning doesn't shoot in all directions. Whoever is winning doesn't need to shout that their mountain is indestructible. All the noise from Iran is the sound of a cornered regime, digging itself deeper and deeper. And then the question remains. If everything is ready, why hasn't the bomb dropped yet? Simple. The Americans don't want a half measure. Bombing just the doors locks Iran out for a while, and nothing more. The real target is the heart of the mountain. And since each of these bombs is counted one by one, when the shot is fired, there will be only one. And it will be to finish the job. So, let's go back to the question from the beginning. What did Iran hide inside the mountain that justifies this much desperation? No one from the outside knows for sure, and that's exactly what scares everyone. It could be the missing uranium. It could be the last remaining facility in the nuclear program, but the fact is, the regime's behavior says something else. Because nobody rushes to bury the entrances to an empty mountain. Pickaxe Mountain is the last remaining piece of the Iranian nuclear program. Everything else, Natanz, Fordow, Isfahan, has already been bombed and is still shut down to this day. If that mountain falls or is sealed forever with everything inside, the regime's decades-long project ends right there. And Trump has already warned what will come while Iran thinks. In an interview with American television, he said that next week, the targets will be Iran's power plants and bridges, unless the regime sits at the table and negotiates. And he repeated the point that he says that he will never give up.
Do you anticipate that the strikes we've seen this week against Iran will expand? Are you considering hitting energy targets or other locations inside of Iran?
I'll save the energy targets for last, but ultimately we'll hit energy targets, yeah. But we're going to hit him very hard tonight. We'll hit him hard tomorrow night. We're going to hit him very hard the night after. And then next week it gets really bad for them because next week comes the power plants, next week comes the bridges. We'll knock out all their power plants, we'll knock out all their bridges unless they come to the table and negotiate.
Do you think the Iranians are serious about a deal?
I think they have no choice.
Why haven't they yet?
I think if I didn't do it the way I'm doing, they would never make a deal. They would have never made a deal with Obama. It was the worst. What they signed was a worthless piece of paper. What they signed with Obama was a worthless piece of paper that was a road to a nuclear weapon. And what I have is a wall. There will be no nuclear weapon.
Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. As you can see, this mountain could become the story of the year at any moment. So, subscribe to the channel now, because when this shot is fired, we'll be here to explain to you what really happened. And before you leave, I'd like to know your opinion down below. Do you think Trump is really going to take that shot? Or is the threat itself already the weapon? Write down below in the comments what you think. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.